So in recent years, the scholarship of the early recording industry has intensified and blossomed in the countries of former Yugoslavia. And extensive research was done on many aspects of early recordings. And still more in-depth research on middlemen, mostly distributors and sellers, is to take place, as we still lack a systematic and comprehensive overview of the record sellers active in Serbia, Yugoslavia in the first decades of the 20th century. So today I will present the traces of the business practices of record sellers, building on existing scholarship and offering more detailed information found in periodicals, mostly in advertising, and to some extent to archives dedicated to commercial activities at the time. I will conclude the paper with the 1930s, when various retailers promoted their catalog by borrowing it to the program of recently established Radio Belgrade to various outcomes. Today's presentation is based on the work in progress, so it aims to show both mapping of sources about sellers and mapping of their names and shops as well as their offer. Before I continue, I will shortly explain why I used the two names of a country in the title. So, in the timeline of the present research, that is from the first decade of the 20th century up to beginning of the 30s, the history of Serbia was tumultuous, and after gradually gaining full independence from Ottoman Empire, the Kingdom of Serbia was established in 1882. After dynastic changes, Balkan Wars, First World War, it became a part of Kingdom of Serbia, Croatia and Slovenia in 1918, and in 1929 the country, so the same territory, was renamed the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. While the detailed history of record sellers should necessarily comprise the broader territory that actually in historical sense made a unified market, at least after 1918. For the moment, I focused on the geographical bounds of the present-day Serbia, taking this as the first step in the research. So my own interest started with the ending years of the period that is the present research. It started not exactly with sellers, but actually with the gramophone record concerts. Segments of Radio Belgrade's broadcasts dependent on the recordings borrowed from local record sellers. So I will later draw on information gathered at the time and in part published in Serbian language. And more on that is to come by the end of the presentation, as I will try to follow chronological order. To go backwards in time and understand who the sellers of sound carriers actually were, I relied on the information mentioned by other researchers, mostly on the studies on early Serbian discography done by Danka Lajić-Mihajlović, David Pokrajac, Saša Spasojević, Nikola Zekić, who worked on several significant collaborative papers together. But their focus was primarily on the repertoire of Serbian folk and urban folk music, and especially on the recordings of the, at the time, very well regarded singer Mijat Mijatović. So, for example, in the paper cited on the slide, they indicated retailers which sold labels for which Mijatović recorded. The record sellers were also mentioned in the work by Milan Milojković and the team of Discograph project, so the project on early Croatian discography dedicated to the Edison Belpenkala, Electroton and Jugoton production. So my process was to go firstly through those newspaper articles that I already know were existing on Mijatović's labels, and then to go and consult in more detail the periodicals which contained, at least in some time, advertisement of the sellers. So I was looking for additional advertisement and previously unmentioned sellers. So this is still ongoing in the sense that not all of the existing periodicals are examined and presented today. So for this occasion, I have primarily focused on Pravda, a daily newspaper that was published since 1904 to the 1940s, thus covering the whole of the period of interest. It should be noted that not all the issues were preserved and digitalized, so there are some of the holes in that continuum. Based on the available sources, we can see that the first advertisement in this paper that was regarding gramophone and gramophone records was ran in 1905 for approximately a month. So this is its first mention, and it is here. So this is the zoom in detail. So this is the story by Velizar M. Markovic, which sold books and stationery material. Besides stating that they are from the first and best factories, the advertisement does not indicate the label itself. Records themselves are not clearly mentioned, only playbook machines. As was the case with many of similar daily newspapers, gramophone and gramophone records were advertised along very different products, such as fashionable wardrobes, foods and wines, offers of land and houses for selling and renting, pharmaceuticals, but also announcements of weddings and funerals. So this was all at the last page of the daily, which was printed on 4 pages in total, in most times. In the later years and decades, we can find various other gramophone retailers advertising in Pravda, such as Mihailo Obradović, then Jefta Pavlović, and the company Edison Bell Penkala once it was established. So these were different shops in themselves. So as you can see, Mihailo Obradović also sold the machines like for sewing machines, and then gramophones and gramophone records, and they were advertised together. Jefta Pavlović at this moment was advertising Edison Bell Penkala, but as we will see, they had much broader offer. And of course, Edison Bell Penkala was specialized record store and the first domestic, both recording company and the seller. So also I found interesting that Pavlović, so this seller, Jefta Pavlović, published this advertisement during the First World War in the first few months when it began, just to inform the customers that they are open during normal hours and they will not be closed. So similar newspapers with examples of gramophone retailers' advertisements and thus important sources of this material are Mali Žurnal, Vreme, and Politika. Here are some examples of advertisements in these publications. So here, for example, is the recording. So these are record sellers, but what they offer all are gramophone label with newest Serbian recordings. This is what they offer together. So this is interesting. Among other things here is that they indicate that there are imitations of their recordings. So something that is not bought with the label recording angel, this is the translation in Serbian, should be taken with a grain of salt. And they also indicated their shops, so where can you find recording angel labels? In Belgrade, in Šabac, which is the city in Serbia, and Cetinje in Montenegro. Here is the other recording for the shop by Savati Popović, who had pate products, so records, patephones, and needles. So, for example, in journal Vreme, we found the advertisement of the first music store, Harmonia, which was long-running and very popular in Belgrade, and it offered music instruments, scores, and records and gramophones as well. Here is, for example, Columbia advertisement, also published in Vreme in 1928. For example, here are the notes on the performers that were included in their catalog, and this is Mijat Mijatović, which was important for researchers I mentioned. Then we have this advertisement by Ilić and Andrejević, where we also find some general store which offered gramophones and records. And here they offer typewriters, bicycles and parts for bicycles, lamps, and then of course gramophones. And Homocord was another of the labels that was published here. Another important source I included are music periodicals that started running in this period in Serbia, since those are the journals that were primarily focused on themes of music and intended for musically inclined audiences. The main advertising run in most of the journals was for sellers of music scores, music instruments, and books. For example, journal Gusle, this is the example from 1911, advertised the shop of Karlo Raab, who offered gramophones and records, though without indication of their labels. In the journal Muzika, music store Harmonia and the shop by Pavle Ivanović were both advertised. So you can see that Harmonia offers, actually this is the Edison Belpenkala, and this is Pavle Ivanović with offer of his master's voice. So Harmonia was actually published several times, but in an interesting case. So the owner of Muzika was Serbian composer and musicologist Mile Milević, and his wife was singer Ivanka Milojević, whose name you can find here on several advertisements. So the way the Harmonia advertised was that Muzika ran regular advertisement for one of the Pate records, and this is the one where Ivanka Milojević sings the songs by her husband and owner of the journal. And this record was available at Harmonia store. Establishment of Radio Belgrade in 1929 brought significant novelties in business practices. In addition to advertisement in the weekly journal that printed the radio program, retailers now borrowed records from their catalog to be broadcasted in the program. The practice seemed useful for radio programming since it relied, especially in the first years, on few ensembles playing from the studio, live broadcast from concert halls or other venues. To fill in the program, records became crucial. For sellers, radio became a necessary ally since it soon became the dominant medium. As Aleksandar Todorović noted, I quote, "Record became the basis of the radio programming and radio became the basis of record sales," end of quote. And this was first evident in the case of Edison Belpenkala. Naila Ceribašić noted that representatives of the company discussed the need to advertise records on radio for marketing reasons, which was realized soon after Radio Belgrade started broadcasting. In the first few months, Radio Belgrade borrowed records from the music store Harmonia. So we can see here in the example, this is the page which ran the full program from the weekly. This is one day. So they had in their program concert of gramophone records, records from the music store Harmonia. And incidentally, there is Decca gramophone advertisement. While the program of the gramophone record concerts is not indicated, we can assume those were Pathé records, as Harmonia previously announced itself as the general distributor, so in the same journal, Radio Belgrade, as Musical House Harmonia and Pathé records as their offer, only with them. In a few months, the same type of program was realized with the help of Edison Bell Penkala. So here, as we can see, there are no other indications of the records. So here, concert of gramophone records from the music house Edison Bell Penkala, and this is all we know. In the second year of the program, the regular note was printed on the first page of the weekly program, which stated that all gramophone records which we reproduce can be get with the store of Yevta Pavlovich, those are his master's voice, Columbia in the eponymous store, and this ran for some time, along with Edison Bell Penkala concerts. In the actual program, the detailed content of this gramophone record concert was printed with the label indicated in the parentheses. So this is concert of gramophone records, and here are the numbers as you would have in a concert regularly, with labels and indications of catalog number in parentheses. In here we can see that his master's voice had the special treatment since it had its own slot as his master's voice concert, and the stores only with the concert that only consisted of his master's voice recordings. In the next couple of years, the same principle was maintained, although the stores and their offer varied slightly. Thus, in 1930s, there was addition of Odeon records from the store of Ilić and Andreevich. From 1931, Pathé, Polydor, and other world labels, as they were quoted, were included. They were available in Harmonia Music Store. An overview of the business success of the main retailers that were regularly borrowing their offer to the program, based on the archive document of the Belgrade Commercial Chamber, kept in the Historical Archive of Belgrade, shows that they were actually not particularly lucky in their endeavors. The owner of Yevta Pavlovich, so when original owner sold his business to Vladimir Rajkovic, had difficulties getting credits because of many unmet debts, which coincided with the periods when he sold gramophones on credit. The store of Ilić and Andreevich came to difficulties, and partnership was broke because it was quoted that Andreevich acquired a number of broken records, so baffled records, and they couldn't be sold. And Music Store Harmonia had to declare bankruptcy at one point. And whether these were coincidences of the indicator of the unwelcome market for records remains an interesting question to be further investigated, especially when other sellers are added. So at the moment, this research deals with collecting facts on sellers, and its goal could be the formation of the database, as our colleagues Michal, Martin, and Filip done with in Prague. However, this information could further lead to interpretation, which should be goal in the end, as both interpretation of music business practices and music culture and taste formation. So starting with the names of the sellers, the quest for further details on their business practices and establishment of connections with world labels, as well as the successes of this line of work, could be learned about. And as for the music culture, the catalogs of music sellers, which we could maybe find once we know actual names, could show the offer of music content and show the popularity of certain performers, and either confirm or renounced the idea that certain performers that were popular on concerts were actually popular on record. And as was shown, radio programming was done by music editors, but still they relied on something that was offered from sellers, and the actual selection was based in the chain of actions that led to record to be made at the first, then distributed and sold, which adds to our understanding of the culture, music culture at the time. And having this in mind, further research on record sellers promises to give interesting insights into the recording culture and music culture in general of the early 20th century. Thank you.